How do you write scripts for feature films? I'm gonna tell you how I do it, for documentaries at least. So, ever since I started making documentaries, I was hooked on the feeling of not having to decide things, like not having to structure everything that you're gonna have in the film. I think for me that was why I was drawn to documentaries in the first place. The fact that having no plan makes the process more a living organism, you could say. I think that's why it's more interesting to me to make docs than to make feature films. But the more you work with it, the more you learn that you have to plan things and you have to figure out how you write your script. It's not just for you, it's also because you need to apply for funding, and for that you need a script. So I've developed more and more of a method during the years. In the beginning, I think I just shot, and then in the edit I just made whatever from what I have. But that has changed a lot since I've actually made pretty much 4 feature films by now. And it's changed a ton during that whole process. Today I think most of the time I have a pretty solid plan, like I have a script in my head, but I don't necessarily write it down. I usually use an outline instead. Like outlining is a simple form of treatment where you kind of write the key scenes, the key structure parts of a story, I'd say. And that makes it easier for me to kind of navigate through the story. But I also do a lot of shooting still, not knowing what I'm shooting, but trying to find the story by shooting. So that's part of my method. So I always have an evolving script, but this is how it will look step by step. First, I start to develop an idea that I'm interested in and that I think will keep my interest for 3 to 5 years. But that also means something that's going to be interesting to other people in 3 to 5 years. And then script writing for me, it basically comes down to developing a character in terms of doing documentaries. You have to develop like what a character structure is for your character. Like what's the narrative structure for your character? Like what is the start, midpoint, end point? What's the conflict? How does it evolve? Like what key scenes do you need to show this? And then try to work from that and try to make it evolve during the process of making it. I think it's kind of fluid the way I work, and I think it's kind of hard to grasp if you're not in my mind. That becomes difficult to pitch if you work like that. So that's why I think you really need to figure your shit out, and you need to write as much and as detailed as possible. When I have an idea for what that is, I research characters, unique angles, what's been done and what's not been done yet. I try to develop my vague idea into something unique. I start to look for characters that can embody my idea. Who can it be? Where are they located? And what conflict do they have?
Now I've just uploaded a video of a funeral of one of the martyrs who were killed on Saturday while we were trying to storm the Interior Ministry, which is Mubarak's biggest torture center that we have here in the capital.
This is when I start shooting. This is my first research shoot. But I always shoot for real, like it's gonna be used in the film. But it's also something that I use to evaluate my idea and character. Sometimes it's more than one character. The important thing though is to see if it holds up or not. Then I go back home to the editing room. I look at the material and I try to develop the story idea further. I try to shape a strong narrative structure that can hold up for the whole film. Think about what the conflict is and how it will evolve during the film.